Hello everyone. This is Dr. Padmalochana, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Ramaya College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Today we'll discuss the poem for fourth semester prescribed for fourth semester BCom Phoenix of Beauty by Dr. Saumitra Chakravarti. Dr. Saumitra Chakravarti is an Indian writer from Calcutta. She has written many poems, and her collection of poems, The Silent Cry, is quite a famous book. She has also co authored a book of essays, The Endangered Self. She has taught many undergraduate and postgraduate students, and she has guided many people who are pursuing PhD. She has been working on her second book of poems at the moment, which is on tribal women and their issues. The theme of this poem, The Phoenix of Beauty, is the poet in this poem talks about beauty in nature, and she tells us that beauty has to undergo changes in life, and beauty, nature renews itself. She says that beauty need not be found in beautiful things or in beautiful places, but beauty is found even in ugly places. In this poem, the poet discusses two things. She talks about the mythological bird phoenix, and she talks about the divine flower lotus. Mythological bird phoenix is a bird which rises from its own ashes after it is cremated. That is, when this bird is dead and it is cremated, from the same ashes that emerge from after the cremation, a new form, a new bird rises. This is what she talks about as renewal in nature. Nature renews itself, that is, when leaves shed during autumn, when the trees shed their leaves during autumn, the same trees again renew and have new leaves during spring. This is law of nature. And then she also talks about lotus, the divine flower, which is so pretty, appears or emerges and grows in a very slimy and marshy environment. In the first stanza of this poem, the poet talks about impermanence of beauty. She begins the poem with a very positive note where she talks about a young flower which has just bloomed. After the flower blooms, it's very happy, it keeps looking around. Then it also sees different flowers which have bloomed earlier to her the previous days and which are on the path of withering. These flowers, which are in the path of withering, the old flowers, have no beauty, but they only have memories of the beauty. The beauty that they had when they were on the creeper, when they were still shining and dancing in the creeper, and the beauty that they had when they adorned the braids of women. Later, the time has affected this beauty, and then the flowers are withering now and dying away. Time affects everything in nature. The poet tells us about this phoenix, and here the bird phoenix is the metaphor for renewal. Phoenix, which rises from the ashes, the blood blooms amid some flowers which are in the process of withering, and there are yet a few more flowers which are dying, and some of them are just about to bloom. And the bud emerges after the death of many other flowers. So the poet here talks about renewal of nature, just like as I said before, just like the trees shedding leaves during autumn and having new leaves during spring. Here, life and beauty is not permanent in nature. Everything has to undergo, and all thing in nature undergoes changes. In the second stanza, the poet talks about transformation that occurs in nature. Nature is not the same. Nature keeps transforming. When we look around in the world, everything that we see keeps changing. You might see a young sapling which grows into a small plant and then a tree and then blooming and then having fruits and trees. We just see a baby, which is just a baby, then grows, becomes a toddler, then an adolescent, then a youth, then middle aged person, then an old age, and one fine day the person dies. So, whether it is a living creature, whether it are rocks, there are even the rocks we know keep changing due to uh, the change in weather as the time passes by. So the poet here talks about everything that keeps transforming in nature, and then after seeing the dead flowers, the bud by the end of the day is not the same bud. By now the bud has transformed. The bud has realized that nothing in nature is same. The bud is matured now, just the way every creature matures. A child, when it is very small, might not think about death or old age, but the same child, when it is a youth, as it realizes that there is death is inevitable but far. But the same person again, by the time the person attains the age of, say, probably 50, this person realizes that death is somewhere inevitable and quite close by. So, in the same way, this bud here has realized that everything, after seeing all the other flowers which are drying away and withering, the bud has realized that it is not going to remain here permanently. The bud has perceived that the sun, which looked very beautiful and innocent in the beginning, the same sun appears to be wise now and more mature. The poet now talks about this innocent bird. This innocent bird, after seeing the change in itself and other flowers, that is, when it keeps looking around and keep looking at other flowers which are all drying away in the world, she starts looking at these things in nature with a different perspective. The bird has realized that change is inevitable. Change is something that it can neither stop. So, this change that occurs in all living things is something the bud, you know, has realized it is inevitable, but the bud doesn't want these things to happen. The bud is mature now and looks at everything around itself in a matured way. She even perceives the sun to have matured now, but she wants the people around it to also have a different kind of attitude. She wants the people to perceive the world with a different attitude, l- and the bud wants the nature to be treated like the way nature was treated earlier. She means to say that nature is not treated the same way as it used to be treated earlier, and people who were innocent and people who consider nature to be innocent are not considering nature to be innocent. Nature, to many people, is something, a kind of profit making entity. So, she wants people to consider nature as the same old innocent thing. In the third stanza, the poet here talks about the divine flower lotus. Lotus, which is, a symbol of beauty, beauty that grows in a very dirty and ugly places. People generally believe that beauty is something that appears only in a beautiful place. But she is trying to tell us that this divine flower emerges from marshy and slimy place. That is, this divine flower emerges in a very dirty and ugly place. So, beauty is not only found in beautiful places, beauty is found even in ugly places. Beauty is found in all shapes and sizes, beauty is found in different colors, and these beautiful flowers which emerge make everyone happy around them. As I said earlier, flowers, start withering and dying, and then when they die, when they wither, fresh flowers arise from dust and dry ruins. So, on the one hand, when you see a bud which is yet to be blooming, there are buds which have just bloomed, and there are flowers which are on the path of withering. And there you might even see flowers which are fruit which are fruits and then seeds and things like that. So, in the last lines of the poet talks about inner beauty. That is, in this second part of the third stanza, the poet is trying to tell us that beauty is not only physical beauty, but beauty also means inner beauty, the beauty of the soul. While physical beauty is not permanent, the inner beauty, the beauty of the soul, is something that remains permanent and that will not undergo any change. Physical beauty is not permanent, as she said. So the poet gives us an example of a dark person. When a dark person smiles, his teeth are visible, his white teeth keep shining. So, for this, the white teeth in the dark face is a symbol of inner beauty. The poet here is trying to tell us how this inner beauty shines and is visible to everyone only when this dark man smiles. This action, the very action of smiling, indicates, the good deeds. When you smile, you are doing something good. So the poet is here trying to tell us that when we are greedy or angry or when we do anything that is bad, then the inner beauty or the beauty of the soul is not visible. For the beauty of the soul to be visible, a person must be doing good deeds. So she tries to tell us that, this lotus, the divine flower lotus, where Hindus believe that, these flowers are used as seeds by many gods, this flower lotus grows in a very dirty and marshy place. So, wherever the beauty is, the inner beauty may remain anywhere in any dirty place, but it still shines. So, lotus here symbolizes this inner beauty in all creatures in nature. So, they may not look beautiful physically, like, many people, when they have to choose their life partners, they only go by the physical beauty. Physical beauty is not what is important, it is the inner beauty of a person that is important. Inner beauty is what matters. So, just the, saying goes that nothing, all things that shines are not gold, or anything that comes in a lovely beautiful package need not be good. Here also, anything that might look beautiful physically might not have inner beauty. Now we have come to the end of the poem. Let us sum up and go through the poem and see what we have learned today. We have learned that wheels of time keeps on moving and transform. There is a saying which says that time and tide waits for none. That is, time keeps moving and it never stops in between and will not wait. And every creature in this world, every living creature will have to die one day or the other, and new life has to be born. While one particular life is dying, there is another life which is emerging from ashes, which is coming into bloom. So, physical beauty, then the poet also talks about physical beauty. The poet tells us that this physical beauty might die, but not the inner beauty. She gives us the example now of lotus, and she tells us that lotus rises from dirty, ugly, and slimy place, a very ugly place, but still its beauty remains the same. It appears the same, just like humans. That is, human beings might be among bad company, but still, if their souls are beautiful, then they keep shining. And just the way a dark person has to smile to show his white teeth, good deeds of all human beings will reflect. Good deeds are the ones which reflect, and these good deeds are symbol of inner beauty. If one has inner beauty, they keep doing good things, they are always smiling, they look bright. Thank you.